war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. The man is not free unless government is limited. An informed patriotism is what we want. But still watch closely and don't be afraid to see what you see.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
When in hell are all you people going to wake up?
Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report.
Well, hello, America. Boy, I missed you guys. Welcome to the season premiere, the return of Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report. We're broadcasting live from right here at PRN Radio Network Studios, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America. Here's a big shout-out to the Watchmen. Way to go, guys. I'm Joanne Moretti, the host of Moretti Underground, and we've made some changes over the summer that we'd like to share with you. My fantastic host, as you all know, JoJo Norton, she's now a candidate for office, and I'll explain all that soon. Anyhow, she's a candidate for her office in her district, so she has to comply with campaign and election laws. That keeps her from offering political commentary for now. But she's also a medical professional, as you all know, so she is able to give us her analysis and expert commentary on the many medical issues that arise in our reports. So fear not, fans, JoJo is still here. She's our medical and first response correspondent/expert now, too. However, we have a surprise for you. There's a guy on our team. His name is Scott. He's not only our graphics guy, he's a tech genius, and all around everything we need done, he does it guy. But he's an incredible patriot as well. We have asked Scott to second chair for us to fill JoJo's old position as co-host. The rest of our correspondents and colleagues, the ones you all know, Lynn, Anna, AstroTurf, Kelshu, Color Me Red, Carol, Katie, and the crew, are all still with us and raring to go, as well as many others that we've brought on board. As you all know, the state of the country is in disarray, and we're at war, but still yet undeclared. The financial foundation we stand on is plummeting, and there's an election coming up. And we're going to address all of that and more as we go on. We have a lot of news, analysis, catching up to do tonight. God, I missed you guys. But before we do that, I want to let you know our call-in number is 714-888-7404. And our chat rooms, both at Blog Talk Radio and right here at PRN Radio Network, are open for you, too. Our amazing colleagues, Lynn, Famous Anna, and AstroTurf, are back, and they're manning the chats, putting all the links to our sources, documents, articles, and all the rest of the stuff you need into the chats, keeping the story going and everything. And that's all as a courtesy, so thank you very much, ladies. One last thing before we start the show. There's a disclaimer that we have to do, and that just lets the feds, the NSA, the FCC, and anybody else who might be interested, that anything we say on this show is solely my responsibility and not that of our gracious sponsors, PRN, or the Watchmen of America. The disclaimer goes like this. The comments made by hosts and or guest hosts or phone callers of the PRN radio network do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else of members of the Watchmen of America program or the Patriot Resistance website, either in past, present, or even future broadcasts. All right, well, now that that's out of the way, let me introduce our newest co-host, the one, the only, the man around here now. He must feel like he's on that show, The View on Fox. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to introduce you to Scott. Welcome, Scott.
How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Boy, am I glad you came on board. We were missing JoJo, and we didn't know what we were going to do, and I just wanted to tell everybody how much we love you and how much we rely on you. I'm really excited to have you on this side of the microphone, by the way. You're awesome at the backstage graphics and production. By the way, Scott's also administrator of our Facebook group and our YouTube account. So welcome to you, my friend. Welcome. You want to tell the folks a little bit about? You want to tell the folks a little bit about yourself? Tell them you're a musician and a very good one at that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I used to be a musician for about 30 years or so. Gave it up when I gave up alcohol because it just wasn't the same playing for, crowds of drunken people that would, at the beginning of the night, wouldn't clap very much for a complex song like Stairway to Heaven or Hotel California, but at the end of the night they'd go crazy for Mary Had a Little Lamb. For obvious reasons, of course.
I hear you. It sounds like something out of the Blues Brothers when they were singing Stand By Your Man.
Right.
Hey,
I'm glad to be here too, Joe, man, and I'm just here to be your Ed McMahon, so take it away.
Yeah, we discussed that. I'm Johnny Carson. He's Ed McMahon. I told him it was going to be easy. He's so fantastic at all the graphic stuff. I don't know if you know, our logo was designed by Scott, and he runs our YouTube. He puts all our shows up on the YouTube account and stuff, so thank you for being here. All right, you want to jump into some news after we get all this formalities out of the way? Like I said, America, I am so happy to be back on here. It was a long summer, and, I want to thank Arlen Williams, too, for taking over the spot and doing a really great job with his shows, and I wish him all the best in the world on his new endeavors with his Sovereignty Project and all of that. So, Arlen, if you're listening, thank you again so much. Arlen filled in for us, and he did an excellent job. All right, Scott, we're in a world of hurt. I mean, this beheading thing, we should probably start there because, they've already beheaded 2 Americans, and now this British guy, and they got another guy that they're threatening to kill. So, you don't know what is and what isn't true. I know that we've been following all those ISIS people over at Twitter, and, there's a real lively group. Yeah, join us. We want to kill everybody, kill, crush, and destroy. But Obama, when he came out and told everybody that Foley, the reporter there, had been beheaded, he left the speech that he gave and went directly to the golf course. He was seen smiling and fist bumping, and 1 minute he's boo-hooing saying, "Oh yeah, how bad we feel," and not 30 seconds later he's on his way to the golf course. Now this last beheading, Cameron, the head over there at the UK, he called an emergency meeting. He came out with a speech and told everybody, that these people are monsters and they're going to do everything they can, and he stayed in his meeting. He's really showing Obama up. Our listeners, our regular listeners, they all know how not fond of Obama I am, and for all the many reasons. It's not personal. It's all about his policy. But, I got a story here in front of me from the Telegraph. So let's start here. This is, it's like I said, from the Telegraph. It says, Prime Minister David Cameron describes the murder of British aid worker David Haines by ISIL as an act of pure evil, as Foreign Office works urgently to verify the video released by the extremists. That's something I want to talk about, too. Cameron said the murder of David Haines is an act of pure evil. My heart goes out to his family, who have shown extraordinary courage and fortitude. He added, we will do everything in our power to hunt down these murderers and ensure they face justice, however long it takes. Mr. Haynes was 44 and he was kidnapped last year. And now, with that same video, ISIS, who Obama calls ISIL, and we'll explain that too, there's a British ex-cabbie who quit his job to work for a Muslim charity in Syria. And they're saying he's going to be the next beheading victim. His name is Alan Henning. He's a 47-year-old father of two. And he was featured at the end of this last Islamic maniac's latest beheading video. So if you're out there, say a prayer for this guy. You know, these videos, I got a lot of questions about them. They all seem to be the same guy, the same lighting. It was said by some of the FBI reports that I saw that they were in front of a green screen. So, you know, all that scenery you see in the background, it's not there. You know, I don't know why they sit there so quietly unless they're surrounded with people with guns that are off camera that we can't see.
You know, even if you gave them drugs, they wouldn't be sitting there so calmly. I mean, even, you know, when self-preservation kicks in, you sober up in a nanosecond.
Yeah, well, what if they were a drug? That's a good point to make too. But I heard too that from some of the people that escaped, they were doing mock beheadings, and they would do them all the time. So, you know, maybe the guy didn't think that, you know, maybe he just thought it was going to be another one of those dry runs. Or
you know,
it didn't happen at all. Go ahead.
Whenever stories come out, videos come out right before a major offensive or an agenda, you know, is forwarded, it's too easy. It's too convenient. It just so happens to come out right before Obama and crew wants to attack Syria. They couldn't get in there before. They blamed Assad for the chem weapons that he didn't have, that the people, McCain, Syrian rebels, he was trying to arm. So now this is Plan B. We create a group of big bad wolves, scare the public silly, and we have to go into Syria.
Yeah, you know, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought up chemical weapons because there was a report just a couple of hours ago about how chemical weapons are being used by ISIS in Syria. You know, that does sound to me like a way to get Obama in.
It's the same group that was doing it before. The Syrian rebels, you know. I mean, you know, you're not going to do that 10 miles away 2 hours before the UN inspectors visit. Nobody's that stupid.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good point.
Exactly what happened. UN inspectors were on their way, and all of a sudden, Syria used them 10 miles away. I mean, you know, it's suicide. It's pretty much just painting a target on your house and waving the American fleet in.
Yeah, that's a very good point to make. It does sound like a setup when you put it that way. You know, how convenient. They need a reason to go in, and here's a reason. But, you know, they said it was some sort of a chloride. So, you know, that could be bleach. It could be, you know, like from a swimming pool for all we know. I don't know. I don't trust anything they say. I especially don't trust. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, by the looks of them, I don't think they're doing their laundry.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Yeah, if it's bleach, they're not using it on their clothes. You know, I wrote a little kind of a rant about Obama's plan. You see, Obama's got this imaginary coalition, and there's a whole bunch of stuff we're going to be talking about with this coalition because they're full of it. But here's my rant. Obama is a petulant madman. The State Department has already said Obama rejected their best plan strategy. Why would you reject the best strategy? Assad is the least bad option at this particular phase. Putin told Obama, don't even think about going into Syria. What that tells us is Putin, Assad, and their ally Iran have some surprises prepared. Is Obama willing to take on that crew with the pathetic assets he's suggesting to put in there? Also, Obama's coalition consists of Qatar, who welcomed al-Baghdadi with all the pomp and circumstance possible. Al-Baghdadi now leads ISIS. Qatar has been funding and arming, with U.S. arms, by the way, ISIS all along. They also support the Taliban, who we've known about. We've known about the Valerie Jarrett meetings and the Kerry meetings and the Hillary meetings up there in Qatar with the Taliban and the secret messages to Iran. Anyhow, the Taliban, we're fighting them in Afghanistan, but Qatar is supporting them. We can't forget that they're also Muslim Brotherhood as well, the Qataris. And I'm sure you've all had your fill of the Muslim Brotherhood by now. The Saudis, they're another member of the coalition. They're real two-faced, those ones. They're really bad. They're the number one supporters of radical Islam, with their pal Turkey, Obama's other coalition member, right behind them for that honor. Turkey has also been supporting the radicals like ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah. They're also allowing ISIS to smuggle oil through Turkey, and they're selling it at a cut rate for less than $60 a barrel, by the way. Does he really think that the Iraqi army is going to perform better this time? Last time, of course, they abandoned all the weapons for ISIS to retrieve, and then they fled. And how about the Free Syria Army? They just signed a no-aggression pact with al-Qaeda, so they can band together against Assad. Are they really who we want to arm? Obama's in a fantasy. Just imagine the reports of the green on blue that are going to be everywhere soon enough. It appears this mission will fail. And by the way, folks, it's a trap. Obama couldn't lead a parade, and our troops are being set up for an absolute ambush. Where the hell are the generals? It's time for them to step up, not just the ones that are there, but the ones that were purged and the ones that are retired. Have they considered a plan if Putin and Assad and Iran decide to light us up? You know, this equal pressure punch swap is like kindergarten, and it's going to get all the troops killed, starting with our pilots. You know, Putin and Iran have planes, even if Assad's planes are all decimated now. But that's, you know, Putin said, don't bother coming in here. Don't even think about it. And then Obama sends him a message, please don't shoot our planes down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's, you know, I don't agree with Bush or Ron Paul much. But Bush even had 38 allies when he went into Iraq. Obama's got 0. And then, you know, what if somebody was violating our space and saying, if you defend yourself, you know, we're going to attack you.
Yeah, well, remember...
They have absolutely no right. And plus, he's doing it unconstitutionally. Just, you know, just make an end run around Congress again.
Absolutely, he is. You know, that War Powers Act was to fight al-Qaeda. He's arming al-Qaeda. The Free Syrian Army has taken those al-Qaeda offshoots into their fold. And now they are buddying up with ISIS with a non-aggression pact to go against Assad. Now, Assad, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he's the least bad of the bad guys at this point. You know, he was keeping these radicals at bay. He also knows if Obama gets inside Syria, he's a goner. He's going to get overthrown. So does Obama think he's just going to let Obama waltz right in there and do whatever he wants to do and not even put up any resistance over his own sovereign country? Remember what Obama said about... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
remember what Obama said about Libya, about that cross-border authority. You know, we had to ask the president of Libya. Well, he's not asking Assad if he can go in there. He's just telling Assad, shut up. And Putin, you know, he's backing Assad. Putin's not going to let that happen. Putin said don't think about it. You know, don't call Putin's bluff. Putin doesn't bluff.
Well, Putin had Libya as an oil hub out there in the Middle East as he does Syria. Those are his two main oil hubs that he had. And they went into Libya, okay? They violated international law by killing a head of state, Gaddafi. And Gaddafi, you know, he wasn't even breathing in the wrong direction for the last 10 years. You know, he got rid of all his stuff, his weapons, whatever, and they went in there and they killed him. And what happens to the country? It goes down the drain. Same thing happened to Iraq. You know, Bush had it pretty much under control, and Obama gets in there, pulls everybody out, and now it's, you know, and that's the same thing that's going to happen to Syria, and then after Syria, it's going to be Iran. Yeah,
well, look at Egypt. The same thing happened. Yeah. He tried
Egypt
that Arab Spring crap in Egypt.
And they took it back, but, you know, I don't know how they did that.
Yeah, it took them 2 revolutions. You know, but they did take it back, and now they want nothing to do with the Muslim Brotherhood. and nothing to do with Obama. Obama is still not sending the weapons that they had already paid for and agreed to, and he's still trying to get rid of Sisi over there in Egypt. You know, but really, like Scott said, look at Libya. He went in there. Now, what did they tell us when they first went in there? Overthrowing Gaddafi was not the goal. And not only they overthrew him, they killed him.
Yeah. We're not gonna do much to him. We're just gonna drag him out in the street and have him killed and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, and he's another one who was keeping all these radical Islamists. You know, there comes a point when you have to ask yourself, is Obama really looking out for the best interest of the United States, or is he the number one purveyor of this global caliphate? Seems to me he's doing all the right things for this global caliphate. Even leaking information to the enemy. When he wanted to save face, when that guy Foley got killed, Obama came out with his usual political baloney, and he said, well, you know, we did try to rescue them, but we failed.
Yeah.
Do you know what that did? If we had any intelligence at all on the whereabouts of these hostages, you know, by him saying that they were mocked, that we tried this, that, you know, it failed, then we know where those hostages are. So what's the first thing they do? They spread them out.
Right.
So now the trail's gone cold.
Right. Move them underground, something. That's his way of, warning them. We're coming. You better get rid of them.
Right. And, you know, maybe not Foley and the other guy, but this last one and the next one could have been saved. You never do that. You know, and this isn't the first time that he's leaked.
Who did he save? The traitor.
Right. That's right, he did.
Whatever his name.
Yep. Bo Berdahl. Bo Berdahl.
Guy was because he was a traitor and a part of the group. He's probably in Brotherhood himself.
Yeah, well, he had to appear to be a hostage so that he could be released and swapped. You know, and then they swap him for 5 Taliban. But before that, in 2009, Obama had insisted that al-Baghdadi was no longer a threat and had him released. Now, remember last week, they were saying how, first of all, Baghdadi had gotten killed at the Syria-Iraq border. Then they said, no, he was injured. Well, how could that possibly be if our good friends, the Qataris, took possession of him and have him on a monitor? How the hell could he be in Iraq or Syria if he's supposed to be in Qatar? You know?
That's a good one.
And Qatar just signed an $11 billion deal to get arms from the United States. You know those arms are going to be handed over to our enemy. You know, Obama has done more for this global caliphate than Mohammed himself. So, you know, after a while, you got to start realizing this is not an accident. Also, Iran. Iran's very much a player in this. Iran has a vested interest in the area. Iran has told us the whole time, forget about it. We're on Assad's side, and every time Obama comes groveling to us or sends one of his minions, we laugh at him and we put it out there. Remember when they had sent a letter to Iran, and then I think it was Hillary that said, no, we didn't send any letter, and then the Ayatollah come out and put the letter on the news. Yeah, there was a letter. Well, just before we came on air, there's a picture of the Ayatollah in his hospital bed. He had just had prostate surgery, and he's laughing his little brains out at John Kerry. Listen to this from the Washington Free Beacon. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei mocked President Barack Obama's strategy to defeat the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant just days after being released from the hospital, and claimed that Secretary of State John Kerry, as well as other top U.S. officials, pleaded with Iran to join the coalition against the terror group, according to regional reports. Khamenei, who recently underwent prostate surgery, said he laughed at the Obama's administration comments on ISIL from his hospital bed and has told the United States that Iran will not aid the United States in its fight, according to remarks published today in the state-run Fars news agency. Khamenei went on to claim that Kerry himself had asked the Iranians to team up with the United States against ISIL, a request that Tehran apparently rejected. according to the report. The rejection raises further questions about the level of coordination between the United States and Iran when it comes to ISIL, a terror group that both nations oppose. And then it goes on. It says here, during the days I was at the hospital, I had fun listening to the remarks of the U.S. officials on fighting ISIL. Khamenei was shown as saying on Iranian television in public comments as he left the hospital. All right, now there's another part I wanted to tell you about this story, if I can find where I underlined it.
Oh, and don't
I
forget,
underlined everything.
you know, these are, it's all about Sunni Muslims against Shia Muslims. And, you know, he acts surprised when countries like Turkey is joining his coalition. Well, they don't want to, you know, attack their fellow Sunni Muslims, you know, who are attacking Syria. They want to attack Syria. You know,
right.
Obama's a Sunni Muslim. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni Muslim. I mean, come on. The only thing those two sects agree on is slaughtering Christians. And that one, they both give a thumbs up for that.
Well, oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I thought we weren't negotiating with Iran. I thought they were the enemy. And then you got this story coming out of Iran that carries groveling to them. And you're right.
With Valerie? About Valerie, you know, she's an Iranian spy. Come on.
Oh, yes, she is.
I don't know how they keep it all straight. I bet they have to have like a notebook for which ones are, you know. I mean, Obama's a Sunni and Jarrett's a Shia. How do they get along like that?
Well, you know what it is.
Family up there.
What it is just like that February 17th brigade that we hired to secure our embassy in Benghazi. They knew, the State Department knew up front that no Muslim was going to fight against another Muslim on behalf of an infidel. They can't. So February 17th Brigade was hired to secure the documents, not to secure the ambassador. The ambassador had his own one security guard. Remember the guy that brought him into the safe room? That was the only security guard he actually had. The brigade was only there to cover the documents because they weren't going to fight other Muslims. When that broke out, the 17th Brigade fled, just like the Iraqi military fled. They cannot fight other Muslims on behalf of an infidel. That would be apostasy, and that's punished by death. You know, that's like asking a nun to pay for someone's abortion. They can't do it.
What don't they have? What isn't punishable by death over there? You celebrate Halloween, death. You know, I mean, everything's punishable by death.
Yeah,
they hate
that's
Valentine's Day, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're a real loving religion.
Yeah, I can't even believe we've gotten this far. Now, this ISIS group, they got all kinds of money going on. They got all that oil revenue, but they're also, they're selling stolen art and whatever they're taking off the people they're killing and the Christians and all that they're running out, gold. But they're also, they have a couple of oil fields over in Syria right now that they are in control of. And up in the north of Iraq, they got those, like the ones in Mosul. So they're making about $5 million a day. And it comes to find out that they're smuggling this oil out through Turkey. Turkey's not our friend. And when we're paying $100 a barrel, ISIS is selling it for less than $60 a barrel. Then it comes to find out the UK is buying some of that smuggled oil.
If we cared, we just take over Venezuela. You know they pay 12 cents a gallon for gas?
For real?
12 cents.
I had somebody come at me yesterday over at Twitter when I was talking about this, about the oil. And the person came back to me and said, oh, yeah, well, you don't mind when you're at a gas station and you're filling up your tank. The Sharia and all that's not bothering you then. Well, before I got into it, I just said, there's a lot of things that go on with that, considering OPEC and refineries and global deals and things like that. So it doesn't matter what gas station you go to. They're all paying the same and charging the same or close to the same. If the guy down the street's charging $3.60, the gas station next door might be charging $3.59, but the variation is just a penny here or a penny there. If, they're selling oil for $60 a barrel, then the oil's going down to $2 a gallon. So while we're fighting and we're doing all this, You know, we got to be stupid. We're the only country in the world that wins wars and then gives everything back to the country. You know, we didn't have to give back those oil fields. We could have, you know, commandeered them until we were at least paid off.
You know, you pay for it, you pay off the debt, you get us good again. But you know, you're thinking like a rational, logical person of thinking our government actually cares about us when you know they don't. I mean, you know, they make the wrong decision every single time. You know, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
I don't understand how all of us, everybody in the country, knows what's going on, has a pretty good grasp of reality, and our politicians are still sitting there telling us these cockamamie stories, and they lie incessantly. Now, this thing, I'm telling you, this is a trap. You figure it. Obama wants to send the bare minimum. He says that it's going to take 3 years. Are you kidding me? It shouldn't take more than 6 months. Get in, use overwhelming force, use Americans only to back up other Americans. We don't have to depend on the Iraqis who are not going to fight on our behalf. They're going to take our weapons and then they're going to turn them on us. That's not a new thing. They've been doing it right along. You know, they want Assad out because they want to put an Islamic State in there. He's the only thing stopping them, him and Putin and Iran.
And, you know, you can say what you want to about Assad, but Christians and Muslims have been living there peacefully for a very long time. And once they put in another overbearing dictator, the first thing they're going to do is slaughter them all.
Oh, yeah. And a very good indication of that is Egypt and Libya. That's exactly what happened. Exactly what Scott said happened has already happened. You know, and it's happened every time, so it's not going to be any different. And they're going to put in another Muslim Brotherhood person up there. You know, the Muslim Brotherhood is not a moderate Muslim group. Actually, moderate Muslims just want the radical Muslims to behead us. They just don't want to do it themselves. But, you know, the Saudis, the Qataris, the Jordanians aren't so bad. You know, they're kind of caught in the middle and they try to keep low-key. But nobody's rooting for the United States. Nobody's over there is rooting for the infidels. They'll deal with us because they have to, but they're not really our friends. And Iran, we're getting jerked all over the place with Iran. You know, Obama had an opportunity back when they had that green revolution. He never even helped those kids.
Even their own doctrine in Quran says, you know, you pretend to be your enemy's friend until you're strong enough, and then you attack them. You know, you're either with them or you're not. It's sort of like when Bush said, you're either with the terrorists or you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. Well, the Muslims think the same thing. They use you long enough until they don't need you anymore, sort of like a useful idiot, and then they dispose of you. Here.
Right. Exactly. You know, and then we just never learn. Now, ISIS, they're spreading. But first of all, let me talk about ISIS for a second. ISIS stands for Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Obama thinks that Islamic State doesn't stand for Islamic, but it does. He also uses ISIL, I-S-I-L. ISIL is the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Now, Levant is a really nice word, but what it is a huge area that encompasses all of the Middle East, most of Africa, and parts of Europe. It originally was in the possession of the Ottoman Empire. And that's what the Levant is trying to recreate, is the Ottoman Empire. Also, ISIL, if you look at the ISIL map, it does not include Israel. Israel will be wiped off the map. And Obama knows that. So that's a hint. The other day, just before he went on to television to give his speech, there was a photograph taken of him with his teeth clenched.
With the horns?
No, that one, that one too. That was during the speech. But just prior to the speech, he showed his fist with his wedding band.
Oh, with the ring, yeah.
The
no
ring.
God but Allah, right?
Yep, no God but Allah. He had that hand extended out and the fist clenched. You know, everybody who has ever even been a union member knows what a clenched fist means. It means solidarity. And that ring, we've gone over that ring a bunch of times. He's had that ring since long before he got married, but he does use it as a wedding band, supposedly. But that ring says, no God but Allah. So, if you're ISIS and you see that photograph, now you don't understand a word of English and you don't need to. You see that picture with the solidarity fist closed with that no God but Allah ring in the forefront. He's got it pointed towards the camera. So that's the first thing you see is that ring on that solidarity clenched fist.
And they know he's
you don't
saying,
have to understand.
I'm with you, brothers.
Exactly.
I'm with you, brothers, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he's saying. And as far as the Levant, ISIS has now reached the Golan Heights, which borders Israel. And the UN peacekeepers had to flee back over the border to get back into Israel. This is from the Jerusalem Post. A UN source told CNN that the troops who were seen crossing into the Israeli-controlled portion of the plateau were being pulled out for their safety. UN peacekeepers in the Golan Heights are being relocated from 4 positions and 1 camp on the Syria side of the Syrian-Israeli border, a diplomatic source said on Monday, after recent clashes with al-Qaeda-linked militants. So there's al-Qaeda again, and they're the ones that joined up with the Free Syria Army. I'm telling you, there are no virgins in that bordello over there. Nobody's the good guy.
And ISIS is just a rebranding name for al-Qaeda, you know. That name was getting out there too much. There was too much controversy about who created it. And so they thought, you know, it's like the Democratic Party. Every few years they got to go from liberal, then they change it to progressive. You know, just call it what it is. You're communists. You know, some of you are socialists. Most of you are hardcore communists. That's what you are. And if you ask them, they'll come right out and tell you. But progressive sounds so much nicer. So now they throw in a couple of names like ISIS and ISIL to confuse the public even more. And to parade another group of wolves out to give them carte blanche to do whatever they want.
Yes. And they practice that taqiyya all the time. You know, they lie to us and lie to us and lie to us. And like Scott said, they'll lie to us until they're strong enough to beat us. And then the truth will come out.
Yeah, it's like one of the commandments from Muhammad, you know. Like ours is thou shalt not lie, Christians. You know, theirs is, you know, lie until you don't have to lie anymore.
Yeah, really, for the good of the cause. It's okay.
It's the whole ideology that's messed up.
You know, and then you got all these
people
liberals
that keep defending it. It just drives me crazy, you know. And then they crucify someone like Michelle Bachmann, who's the only person, you know, in Congress that really, you know, has the guts to come out and say what it is.
Do you remember how they treated that poor woman?
He can't even
She has been mourning and mourning and mourning. She's been sounding the warning alarm, and they treated her like crap, Michelle Bachmann.
Oh, and now they have her up on charges. They're trying to, you know, throw her in jail.
Yeah, they're trying to do that to that Rick Perry, too. But this is just, it's out of control. And these people, these Americans that are going along with it, the liberals especially, do you know that ISIS or the Islamists or the jihadis or whatever word of the day is, they will get rid of the liberals first. They're not real fond of feminists and atheists and insolent students and gays. You know, here's these people telling us we got to be politically correct. Look at Maxine Waters just said. She said, if you're against Sharia law, then you're a bigot. Are you kidding me? A bigot? That's a
why
woman
want
liberal.
her to be married, you know, to one of those crazy, you know, mullahs?
I want to see her wear a burqa. If she won't wear it, then she's the bigot.
Yeah, at least for our sake.
That's
Please.
Yeah, please.
Glad bag. Cut a couple holes in it. Something.
Yeah, well, you know, old Mad Max, she's out there. That other one, Sheila Jackson Lee.
People. I don't. You know, it's almost like they take an IQ test and if you score below 90, you're it. We're running you for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
One of those guys actually said that an island was going to tip over if everybody got on one side.
Oh,
of it.
Hank Johnson, Guam was going to tip over. And these are the people we have running the show.
Right. It's the blind leading the lame.
How long has that chick Sheila Jackson Lee been running around running her mouth about Sharia and about the bigots and the Islamophobes?
She thought Neil Armstrong was the first man that landed on Mars. I kid you not.
For real?
For real.
Yeah, well, she's another one who's screaming Islamophobe.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And this is Texas. Remember, don't mess with Texas. It's become nothing but a slogan.
Yeah, how did that chick ever get elected in Texas, man? What did they put all their crazies in one spot and give her the district?
Right, redistricting, basically.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it is a good idea.
Group of people, decide for the whole area.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's probably a good idea to put them all in one spot, and that way you don't spread them out and filthy up the rest of the neighborhoods. Just give them their one little district. But, these liberals will be the first ones gone, and I'm sick of hearing the word Islamophobe. No, they really are out to kill you. As a matter of fact, we've had a couple of jihadi killings. You all know about the father who killed his daughters, the cab driver there. He killed his 2 daughters. Well, there's a guy named Brendan Tevlin, 19-year-old boy, minding his business. This screwball Ali Muhammad Brown, he had already killed 3 men. He had already been indicted but not convicted of supporting terror with funding. And then he's still walking the streets, and he was able to kill this kid, Brendan Tevlin. Nobody even talks about this kid, Brendan. This happened in July, I believe. People are just hearing about this kid now. And
well, of
this
course,
guy, Muhammad.
Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson can't rush and claim somebody violated his civil rights. It's not going to be in mainstream news.
Yeah, well, what about poor Brendan's civil rights, man? Forget Al Sharpton's a loser, and Jackson.
He doesn't matter.
Yeah,
he's white.
Yeah, he is a white kid.
White,
and this kid,
he doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
according to these people.
This Muhammad Brown, he told investigators that Tevlin's slaying was just a kill. The devout Islamic adherent proclaimed, "My mission is vengeance for the lives, millions of lives that are lost every day," echoing jihadist Fort Hood mass killer Nidal Hassan. So, somehow those two had the same story. So I'm wondering who the common denominator is in their little tryst. But he goes on and he says that he cited the Muslim deaths in Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan as the catalyst for his one-man Islamic terror campaign. All these lives are taken every single day by America, by this government, so a life for a life. When the detectives asked him to clarify whether all 4 murders were done for vengeance for the action of the United States in the Mideast, Muhammad Brown stated unequivocally yes. He added that he was just doing his small part. But one of the things missing from many media accounts is Brown's background. In 2004, when he was 19, Brown was arrested and convicted of bank fraud. In that case, between January 2002 and November 2004, Brown and 3 other men defrauded U.S. Bank of America, Key Bank, U.S. Bank, and Washington Mutual, Wells Fargo and Boeing Employee Credit Union, too. He was depositing counterfeit checks and then withdrawing the funds before the checks were returned, according to documents filed in the U.S. District Court. He served time in federal prison for this offense. But this wasn't just a random bank fraud. Brown was part of a ring of men in South Seattle that were arrested by FBI terrorism agents in 2004 and under suspicion of funding terrorist groups. The feds convicted Brown and some of the other men on bank fraud charges. The FBI was unable to actually make terrorism conviction. But, they couldn't prove the money was being used to finance terror operations. Anyhow, the group was led by Reuben Schumpert, who owned Crescent Cuts Barbershop, which the FBI raided in 2004. And he was the first in the ring to turn and talk about the fighting. So this guy, and another thing, too, the second missing thing from the national media story, Brown had accomplices in the killing of the young white student in New Jersey, 19-year-old Jeremy Villagram and 18-year-old Eric Williams. Some media accounts also report an additional man. They drove up behind Brendan Tevlin in West Orange. They jumped out and surrounded Tevlin's car. Brown then fired 10 shots through the car window, killing Tevlin. Brown got in Tevlin's car and drove to Villagran's apartment, where they left the car with the body of Tevlin in it. So now he's killed 4 people. He's bank frauding. He's convicted of bank fraud, and they couldn't make the conviction stick for terrorism. Why wasn't this man under surveillance? He was able to kill 3 more people.
He probably was. Maybe they were grooming him for the Senate. I don't know. He sounds like a perfect candidate for one of Obama's administrative zombies. Yeah, for real. I'm flabbergasted at the way that these people are getting away with this. They knew, they know. They know these things. They choose, it's like the Department of Injustice. They choose what laws to follow, which laws to ignore, which criminals to persecute, which ones to ignore. It's just total corruption from the top down. Well, it's got to be absolutely clear. It's got to be absolutely clear. I mean, we've purged our manuals of any reference to Islam. They said that the Boston Marathon bomber, the Treasury said the Boston Marathon was not a terrorist attack. I don't know when that got to be the Treasury's call either, by the way. Don't we have FBI and DHS and all of them whose job it is to know that? Why did the Treasury have to come out and declare that? Uh-huh. All these intelligence agencies and someone who has nothing to do with it, unless, some mailboxes were involved. I mean, who knows? Yeah. I mean, Brennan, he converted to Islam, so you're not going to get anywhere with our State Department, our intel. Obama doesn't listen to our intel anyhow. He has his own pipeline. Obama, people think that he's an incompetent boob. Oh, no. You are very, very wrong. Obama is far from incompetent. Obama is shrewd, and he never strays from the plan. He doesn't have to listen to intel briefings. He gets his own. All he does exactly what his handlers tell him to do. Right. He ignores what he calls noise. He ignores the noise. Executive orders, that's it. Yep. He stirs up racial hatred. He set the country back 50 years in race relations single-handedly. He does everything he could possibly do to upset Americans, and they break the law every day. I mean, even Rush Limbaugh counted 1,800 times he has broke the law in 2 years. Now think about what that would be in his 5 years, 5.5, 6 he's been in there. Right. And nothing ever happens, Nixon bugged an office. He bugs the world and gets away with it. So absolutely. It's probably end game, and they're going for broke now. I don't know why. Henry Kissinger came out and said, illegal we do right away, unconstitutional takes a little longer. And that's exactly what has happened this last 5 years. It was all it was all illegal right at first, and now it's all unconstitutional. Even co-chairing at the UN is unconstitutional. It's violating the Logan Act. Right. But it's just like organized crime. When you've got the police in your pocket, or whoever can arrest you or stop you from committing crimes, you've got a license to do whatever you want, and that's where we're at. Mm-hmm. You got John Boner, who he cries more than a little girl. I mean, come on, he's got no spine. He's right with them all. I mean, nothing is going to change. Even if he was impeached, it would do absolutely nothing. Yeah, because it would still have to get through the Senate. Remained in office. All his policies stayed. Republican can get in there, and they could nullify every one of those executive orders the previous president signed. You're right. And they don't do it. because they're all on the same team. The major goals always go forward, but they argue about little things that are never going to change, like Roe versus Wade. You know, that's never going to change.
Been fighting that fight since 74. 73.
You know, the Democrats use two of the same things every election year. Abortion and the big bad Republicans are going to take away your Social Security. That's it.
Nancy Pelosi said that civilization's going to end if Republicans take the Senate.
All right. Yeah. Now, you know, when you have bat-ass crazy people like that in there, we have very little hope. Any other country would be dragging her out of office in a straitjacket. But not us. No, she's a multi-millionaire.
No, we put her up there for Speaker.
You know? Her and Diane Frankenstein. At least Diane's got a brain. You know, as much as I dislike the woman for her anti-gun rhetoric, at least she's not a complete moron.
Yeah,
but
the woman is
Pelosi,
intelligent. You got to give her that.
You have, you know, these people in these high positions that are just clueless. I don't know. Maybe the Botox is soaking into her brain stem or something.
And you know what the hard part is if you look at it in reality, the Democrats have been in majority in our government since at least 2006, when she took over as Speaker of the House. You figure Bush's last 2 years, she was Speaker. They had a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate. So that's a majority, 2 out of 3. Then Obama gets elected. Now they got 3 out of 3, a supermajority of Democrats, the White House, the House, and the Senate.
Yep.
Then in 2010, they did flip the House. Nancy got to be the minority boss instead of the Speaker. But still, the Senate and the White House have remained Democrat majority. That's 2 out of 3. You know, so that they're constantly blaming the Republicans when the Republicans can't do a damn thing about it. Even if they did impeach him, the House would have to bring the impeachment, but the Senate would have to convict him. And there's no way. You can't even get a bill passed, Harry Reid, never mind an impeachment.
No. It's just talk. It's just dog and pony show. Like, you know, like these Benghazi hearings. It would be nice to think that there's somebody out there, but they keep parading these people in front of hearings. They lie to Congress. They even charged Holder with contempt of Congress. Whip-de-doo.
Right.
Nothing happens.
No,
you
the court gave him a
somebody
do-over.
a bank robbery, but if you don't put him in jail for it, what's the reason? What's the incentive not to do it again? Like I said,
they never even asked to pull his law license.
They've got all the people who can do something about it in their pocket, and they don't have to worry about anything. Who they're going to get? Sergeant of Arms? We need, we need Chuck Norris as a Sergeant of Arms.
Yeah, really. Get in there and kick some tail. What we need, we really do. I mean, we've talked so many times about this third party. We need a strong third party. Yes, we do. But we haven't done it yet. So that leaves us with 2 options, Republicans or Democrats. I know a lot of people didn't vote for Romney because they didn't like him or he was rich or whatever reason they didn't vote for him. They just didn't go out there and vote. They stayed home. Well, they are partially responsible for why Obama is still here. I think
they did. I think they did, and I think he won. I mean, you and I were watching this election very closely. Every time there was a gathering, Romney had 5 to 6 times the crowd that Obama had. And then when you got the election results, back, and you had 125% turnout for Obama in some districts and 0 for Romney, you're telling me that not one person voted for Romney? I mean, it's just massive, massive election fraud. I mean, even people like Karl Rove, who I'm not a fan of, if there's one thing he's good at, it's crunching numbers. And he was crunching these numbers, and he's saying, this district, it's going to go Romney. You just watch. And it was Obama landslide, and he's going, I don't understand this. and Megyn Kelly or somebody said, "Oh, well, it's all scientific, Carl." He is the scientist. He was Bush's brain.
Right. He's the architect.
Right. It was just so much voter fraud, and then they won't even look into it. And I don't know.
Yeah, well, it came out that the Republicans
voting fraud machines that are that easy to rig, they're like slot machines.
Yep.
And me and you and I were following the story of how people were going in and voting for Romney and having it changed to Obama. Think how many people just voted and they didn't really look twice. They just wanted to vote and get out of there. Well, right there goes 20% of your votes.
Absolutely. They know they're going to lose big this time, so they're going to have to. They're going to have to retab.
The voting fraud is never ever addressed, because if you want a voting ID, you're a racist. You're trying to suppress the black vote, even though they need a license to buy booze and do everything else, cash a welfare check, cash any kind of check. But even in Iraq, they dip your finger in blue ink so you can't vote twice. And
and they use paper ballots.
They come over here. The UN came over here to monitor our elections last time, and they were laughing. They said, "I can't believe this. You guys don't even ask for ID."
Right.
Of course not.
That's racist too. Are they trying to tell us that people of color can't pull off getting an ID?
Go get a photo ID. Exactly.
A free
Absolutely.
ID. That's right there. That is condescending. It's pompous. It's elitist, and it's racist. They
can
think
do that, though. The Democrats, see.
Yeah, well, they think that minorities are somehow inferior, and need their lily white liberal help to even breathe.
They can say that because they're liberal, so they have a free pass.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times. Al Sharpton comes out. He's made all kinds of horrible, racist, and homophobic statements. They give him his own show. Somebody at Chick-fil-A doesn't want to do something, and he's a bad guy.
You know what he did to the blacks in Ferguson? I was listening to his speech. We monitored that whole Ferguson episode.
Right.
He said that we don't trust the local cops, and I think we're going to go with the federal investigation on this one. He led those people right into Holder's arms. Going to go with the federal investigation. They didn't even give the local investigation an opportunity to take hold, never mind actually look into it. And then poof, out of thin air, here comes Holder, right on cue.
Yep.
And now they're screaming, we want more services, we want more government oversight, we want this, we want that. And you see these people in the middle of the street, and they are surrounded completely by cops. There's these people screaming for more government, and they're not even looking around them. You see all those cops? That is more government.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Sharpton led them right in there, keeping them right where they want them, in the federal's hands. And that's a way to federalize our police departments, our local judicial systems, districts. It's all part of the plan.
It is. That's why, whatever story you see out there in mainstream media, whether it's Fox News or anything, question it. Don't take anything for face value. Because, especially like these beheadings that further their agenda. They wanted to go into Syria so bad. You had Lindsey Graham claiming there was going to be an attack on South Carolina or whatever. You had John Kerry saying the world was going to end if we didn't attack Syria, and Americans have had it. They were tired of being lied to. They don't want another war, and they had to back off. So they thought, okay, switch to Plan B. This is going to take a little while, and now here they are, right on schedule, doing what they wanted to do 8 months ago.
Right.
And it's all to get rid of big bad ISIS, which they're not going to do. They're going to go in there and they're going to attack Assad. That's what they're going to do. Or they're going to say he attacked one of our planes because, they're probably buzzing over his house or something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
I don't know how
the
it
bad
could have been
guys are not going away.
I don't know how it could have been Assad this time with the alleged chemical weapons because he's not in control of the area that they were lit up in.
And now you got Putin and China. China's remaining quiet, but we're with Putin on this. And, this is going to be different. This is what really actually could start World War III. And I
That's
don't
what
really,
the Pope said.
Yeah, well, I'm not, when the Pope doesn't really say things like that unless he knows something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really pay much attention to him. But when he says something like that, it's like E.F. Hutton, I listen.
In the last 5 days, we have heard from Kissinger, Dick Cheney, Ziggy Brzezinski. Yep. Soros and the Pope. That's
a round table, isn't it?
Yeah, you're not kidding. There's the heavy hitters right there. And the rest of them are probably in the wings. But for them to come out, something big is up. They don't crawl out of the crypt for nothing.
Right. It's a good.
How do you feel about taking a break? Want to take a quick commercial break so we can pay some bills? And then when we get back, I have at least a 2-inch stack more of news to get to, including Hillary Clinton's State Department, her very own chief of staff. What's her name? Stephanie Mills. They were sifting through all the Benghazi documents, taking out anything that was harmful to Hillary. And our girl Cheryl. Yep. And our girl Cheryl Atkinson came out with one of the most wonderful investigative reports I've seen in a long time. Well, of course, what's his name there? Brett Baer. He did that Benghazi thing, which was awesome, too. 13 hours. Anyhow, we'll be back in a minute. And we are back. You're listening to Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report, right here at PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America program. I'm Joanne Moretti, and my great co-host Scott is with me today. Of course, our crew is with us, too, Anna and AstroTurf and Lynn. They're all in the chat rooms putting all the links to our sources and stories and keeping the conversations going, so please say hi to them when you get over there. All right, Scott, before we went to break, I was telling people about the Hillary Clinton thing. Now, we've been following Benghazi since day one, and all of our listeners and all of our new listeners should know that, too. This has been one really, really, really bad situation. We still don't know where Obama was during the whole fiasco. Hillary, she was around. She allegedly talked to Obama at 10 p.m., never told us what condition he was in. We did see that at that 10 p.m. call that they'd started discussing a video. Now, the guys who were on that Brett Baer special, 13 Hours, which is a book, by the way, too, they said that they never even heard anything about a video until they were already rescued, the whole thing was over, and they had arrived in Germany. So nobody on the ground had ever heard of any video. That's probably including the people. Now, the special committee, the oversight committee, has been asking for documents. They got a court order for documents. They were supposed to have every one of these documents. It comes to find out, Cheryl Atkinson found out, that Cheryl Mills, Clinton's chief of staff, was present in the basement during a document purge. The story goes that Hillary Clinton aides went through every one of the documents, and anything that alluded to Hillary or looked bad for Hillary or even could indirectly lead to Hillary was purged from the paperwork that the Oversight Committee got. Now there's a select committee, and they have subpoena power. They, too, were denied the documents. But Cheryl Atkinson, remember her, the one that was fired from CBS for continuing on this Benghazi thing?
Yep.
She got to the bottom of it. It's a long story. I'm only going to read a little bit of it. But it says, as the House Select Committee on Benghazi prepares for its first hearing this week, that's Wednesday, by the way, a former State Department diplomat is coming forward with a startling allegation. Hillary Clinton confidants were part of an operation to separate damaging documents before they were turned over to the Accountability Review Board investigating security lapses surrounding the September 11th, 2012 terrorist attacks on the U.S. mission in Benghazi, Libya. New Benghazi allegation puts spotlight on Hillary Clinton confidants' alleged after-hours document review. According to former Deputy Assistant Secretary Raymond Maxwell, the after-hours session took place over a weekend in a basement operations-type center at the State Department headquarters in Washington, D.C. This is the first time Maxwell has publicly come forward with the story. At the time, Maxwell was leader in the State Department Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs, which was charged with collecting emails and documents relevant to the Benghazi probe. I was not invited to that after-hours endeavor, but I heard about it and decided to check it out on a Sunday afternoon, says Maxwell. He didn't know it then, but Maxwell would ultimately become one of 4 State Department officials singled out for discipline. He says scapegoated, then later cleared for devastating security lapses leading up to the attacks. A basement operation. Maxwell said the weekend document session was held in the basement of the State Department's Foggy Bottom headquarters in a room underneath the Dragas entrance. He described it as a large space outfitted with computers and big screen monitors intended for emergency planning and with small offices on the periphery. When he arrived, Maxwell says he observed boxes and stacks of documents. He says a State Department office director, whom Maxwell described as close to Clinton's top advisors, was there, though the official director technically worked for him. Maxwell says he wasn't consulted about her weekend assignment. She told me, Ray, we're going to go through these stacks and pull out anything that might put anybody in the Near Eastern Affairs front office or the 7th floor in bad light, says Maxwell. He says 7th floor was State Department shorthand for then Secretary of State Clinton and her principal advisors. I asked her, but isn't that unethical? She responded, Ray, those are our orders. A few minutes after he arrived, Maxwell said in walked 2 high-ranking State Department officials. Maxwell says the 2 officials, close confidant of Clinton, appeared to check in on the operations and soon left. Maxwell says after those 2 officials arrived, he, the office director, and an intern moved into the small office where they looked through some papers. Maxwell says his stack included pre-attack telegrams and cables between the U.S. Embassy in Tripoli and State Department headquarters. After a short time, Maxwell said he decided to leave. I didn't feel good about it, he said. We reached out to Clinton, who declined an interview request and offered no comment. A State Department spokesman told us it would have been impossible for anybody outside the Accountability Review Board to control the flow of information because the board cultivated so many sources. When the ARB issued its call for documents in early October 2012, the Executive Directorate of the State Department's Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs was put in charge of collecting all emails. In May 2013, when critics questioned the ARB's investigation as not thorough enough, co-chairman, Ambassador Tom Pickering, and Admiral Mike Mullen stated, we had unfettered access to everyone and everything, including all the documents we needed. Maxwell said when he heard that statement, he couldn't help but wonder if the ARB, perhaps unknowingly, had received from his bureau a scrubbed set of documents with the most damaging material missing. He also criticized the ARB as anything but independent. Like I said, it goes on, and, the ARB inquiry was at best a shoddy, executed attempt at damage control. And Maxwell says he's been privately interviewed by several members of Congress in recent months, including Representative Trey Gowdy, RSC chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, and Representative Jason Chaffetz. He's from Utah. He's a Republican, and he's a member of the Oversight Committee. Chaffetz told me that Maxwell's allegations go to the heart of integrity of the State Department. The allegations are as serious as it gets, and it's something we have obviously followed up and pursued, Chaffetz said. I'm 100% confident the Benghazi Select Committee is going to dive deep on that issue. It goes on about this guy, Maxwell. He was a former Obama supporter, and as it turned out later in the day, it said that Cheryl Mills, who was Hillary's chief of staff, she was there herself present at this purging little party they were having.
What was her job?
So
You know, her job was to get rid of it.
Yep.
Probably oversee all the, all the damaging information going into the shredder. I mean, I'm surprised they actually went to this much trouble trying to cover up. It's not like any of the mainstream media is going to report on it. And if it does, the hardcore Democrats will vote for her anyway. It doesn't, It used to be when you even had a hint of impropriety, that would hurt you in the polls and whatnot. But not anymore. Now you can be Anthony Weiner and get reelected if you want.
That's true. That's true.
And why is
Look at them.
Why is it that even Republicans can come out and talk like Democrats and still get reelected? It's got to be the voter fraud. You have Mitch McConnell, who has done nothing. He's totally useless, and he's always reelected. John Boehner the same way. You have these rhinos that they don't even have to pretend anymore.
Look at Tad Cochran.
Yeah, and that's totally. I mean, his opponent has got proof that the election was stolen, and they don't even care.
No, they're using all kinds of. They're jerking them around. They're telling them, "Oh, you didn't make the deadline," or "You didn't complain in time," or "It doesn't matter." Whatever reason they can use. And Tad Cochran is on film saying that he was doing improper things with animals, and people still elected him.
Yeah, elected him. Put that in quotes.
Yeah, they stole that election. McDaniels, the opponent, he had over 12,000 votes that were improper that he could prove.
District?
Well, I don't know if it was one district, but if you only win by like 900 and you got 12,000 improper votes, there's a problem.
That's quite a bit. Yeah, that's quite a bit. That should open up, some sort of investigation in itself. But when you have the GOP and the Democrats both going after Tea Party candidates and Patriot candidates, you don't have much of a chance.
Right.
You got both sides working against you. I knew this country was in trouble, decades ago when the GOP wasn't on the same page as talk show hosts such as Limbaugh. I'm not that much of a Limbaugh fan, but at least he's on our side, seems to be. And when the GOP is calling him a radical, I mean, he's mild, compared to some people that are way right, way far to the right. And with the GOP and conservative talk show hosts aren't even on the same page, you have to ask yourself why. It's because the GOP is so far left. They're what the Democrats used to be like. Someone like John F. Kennedy, he could never be a member of the Democratic Party today.
He could barely make it as a Republican. They'd call him a Tea Party.
Yeah, he was a family man. He was a Catholic. He had, he
fiscal conservative,
anti-abortion, pro-gun, as far as I remember. And he would never be in the Democratic Party today. They even put Dennis Kucinich on a rail out of town, just because every once in a while he'd come out and say, this is unconstitutional. You don't even hear that uttered from the Democratic side anymore. No, not at all, unless it's a way around the Constitution, or they lie about it. Yep. You know what our problem is? First of all, we don't know how to deliver a message. Obama was excellent at that. He went to MTV and YouTube and on the talk shows, and he went where people were watching. He knew people weren't watching CNN and MSNBC and Fox. Just the people who were actually engaged watched those. But the kids, I saw a report the other day. His political science students, graduate students, they cannot name one senator currently seated in the Senate. That's pretty bad. Right.
What are they teaching them in political class if they can't even identify even one senator their own?
They're teaching them political ideology. Everything this country was great and founded on is bad, and everything that would make Fidel Castro or somebody, that's good. It's just it's a liberal brainwashing mill is all it is.
Our generation has really dropped the ball. We got so busy and so stuck in the me generation, and we had to be upwardly mobile, and we had to be yuppies, that we just put our children in the hands of these radicals without ever knowing they were radicals, and then they act surprised when their kid comes out and is a full-blown liberal and can't even identify why they're a liberal.
Well, they
don't
can't
even have a clue.
Identify who the vice president is. Simple knowledge that everybody... I knew who the vice president was when I was in 9th grade. You almost
grade.
have to, live in a closet to not know. But these people don't know, because all they care about is their iPhone and what Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus is doing.
And Obama was smart. He got in their iPhones, too. He got inside their iPhones, and he sent them text messages.
Hillary is doing the same thing, by the way. She's got all the latest media all wrapped up and ready to go, and they're going to roll some stinky old man out, like Romney, and he's going to be doing the same thing. They even might run him again. You had your chance, buddy. All right? You couldn't beat the most unpopular, worst economy president since Jimmy Carter. You're done. Go away. Take Ryan with you.
Republicans don't know how to fight.
His face again.
Republicans don't know how to fight. They sit on some... What?
This just happened. This just recently happened. Because 10 years ago, I saw Romney get on TV, and he just tore someone to shreds. And I thought, wow, that guy is a real, he's a shark, this guy. I hate doing business with this cat. And then he gets on there, I don't know what it was, the fourth debate. He could have dropped that Benghazi bomb on that bitch.
I was screaming during that debate. And Jojo and I were on the phone, and I was like, he's got to say it. Right there. Here's the transcript. They say, when Obama said, let's see the transcript, Candy, Romney should have grabbed the transcript, too, because in line 4 in that transcript, he blamed the video and about how bad the Americans were for going against people's religion and we protect religion. And it wasn't until paragraph 10 that he said any act of terrorism.
Right.
So had Romney taken that...
No, since when does the host of a debate side with one of the candidates like that?
And have that transcript available, so it was pre-planned.
Right. It's like, having a football game, and the ref is, he's got...
And he didn't even call out the setup. And Romney didn't say, what is this, a setup? How come you have this transcript? Are we talking, something you want to share with the rest of the class?
Right. He had so many
But Romney
chances.
didn't know how to fight. His handlers wouldn't let him fight. They don't know how to get down and dirty like us and tell it like it is. They stick with that political correct stuff that's getting us all killed. There's nothing correct about it, by the way. But we've made so many mistakes, and we're on the verge of World War III because people are sticking to political correct baloney. But Romney could have had it. And Romney probably would have been a way better president. He would have run the country like a business. This country should be making money, not bleeding it.
Yeah, the third debate, Obama looked like a fool. All Romney had to do was, he had the bases set, bases loaded, ready to go, and he struck out on purpose.
Yeah, why did he strike out? He didn't even have to swing. He could have walked.
He had all the opportunities all there to say, you know what, we haven't had an ambassador killed in 30 years or whatever it's been. He could have drove that home. And, when you pretty much throw your A material in the trash and just kind of, get by, I don't know. It was like you didn't want to win.
AstroTurf is in the chat room. AstroTurf's in the chat room. She says, all the opponents were afraid of being called racist. That's true. That racist really worked.
See, but I don't think it's an excuse.
No, because white people are afraid. White people say, oh, my God, they're calling us racist. I'm not a racist. Let me go prove I'm not a racist. How about you ask them to prove you are? Forget being on the defense. Go on the offense.
Yeah, why don't when Republicans get accused of that, why don't they just bring up the history of the Democratic Party? I mean, there's so many facts. Everything from voting rights for blacks to everything. The Democrats have always voted against it. Was it a Democrat president that freed the slaves? No, it was Abraham Lincoln. I think they have history on their side, and they don't use it.
Mhm.
They
could say like we say. Yeah, racism sucks. We all know racism sucks, but you know what else sucks? False accusations of racism.
Right.
Yep. And then go on and say you're only saying that because of the color of my skin. I thought we were over that. Yeah, all white people are bad. All the ills in the world are all by white people. Slavery was 150 years ago. All men are created equal. That's true. But they're created equal in rights and opportunity. Ability is another story. You have to make the effort. You have to educate yourself. You have to better yourself. You have to take the steps. Okay, yes, you are created equal, but it's not guaranteed equal outcomes. And with this stupid, everything equals and the socialism stuff, you want the guy flipping burgers doing your brain surgery? Not everybody is equal. In that case, you have to put the effort in. So when it comes down to equality, yeah, we all start out equal. What'd you do with your life?
No, this is what they want. Class warfare, race warfare, everything. Because when people are fighting over that, the people at the top get away with whatever they want. When we're fighting each other, we can't be joining together and fighting them. It's as old as the hill,
Another thing is the propaganda. They are masters at taking a small little slogan and repeating it and hammering it. War on women, war on women, war on women. All of a sudden you think there's a war on women. You don't think past that.
We
all
can.
You know, yeah, well, all you know, there's a war on women. Does that make any sense to anybody? Why would men put a war on women? That's stupid. There is no war on women. They say that real fast, too. War on women or war on climate or war on this or war on that. The only thing they won't call war is war.
Well, there is, but it's the one that's killing them before they get out of the womb. And that's all in the Democrats.
Yeah.
Now, there's a war on women, all right. They don't want them to be born.
That's true.
And it's all, Solinsky, that's all it is. Communist Manifesto, right down the line. And they should have did something about this back when Woodrow Wilson created the Federal Reserve and all that. That is right out of the Communist Manifesto. Income tax, Communist Manifesto. And they let him
Funny
get away
you should
with
say that. Funny you should say that because Zero Hedge today put out something. He wrote a simple primer on war propaganda from an unexpected source. And then he writes, stop us when this becomes familiar. The receptivity of the great masses is very limited. Their intelligence is small, but their power of forgetting is enormous. In consequence of these facts, all effective propaganda must be limited to very few points and must harp on these in slogans until the last member of the public understands what you want him to understand by your slogan. As soon as you sacrifice this slogan and try to be many-sided, the effect will piddle away, for the crowd can neither digest nor retain the material offered. In this way, the result is weakened, and in the end, entirety cancels out. The source is Chapter 6, War Propaganda, of Adolf Hitler's 1926 Mein Kampf. Slogans like hope and change, or forward, or war on whatever insert word you want to have.
Use vague terms that there's really a million definitions for. So if you say change to me, it might mean something completely different to you, you know? And they never come out and say, well, what does forward actually mean, you know? What does change really mean? We don't want
yes, we can.
The complete transformation of the country. We like the country. I want a complete transformation of the government. I want it to go back to the Constitution. That's what I want.
Fundamental transformation.
The minute somebody violates their oath of office, right there they should be up on being removed. You know, but they're not going to do this. It's like voting themselves a pay raise. I mean, if somebody sent me a thing, said, "Do you want to vote yourself a pay raise?" Gee, let me think a second. The same people who are voting themselves pay raises shouldn't be making these laws against themselves. It should be a complete nonpartisan group that does that.
And they exempt themselves from the laws they pass.
Oh, of course.
And their staff, like Obamacare.
Insider trading, Obamacare, right. But the insider trading one is what got me. I mean, that goes against the FEC and everything.
Yeah. And then they had the nerve to bring up a bill in front of us.
Yeah, look,
remember that?
Stein and Pelosi's husbands.
Right.
What was that?
And Maxine Waters too. Yeah, her old man with the what was it, North Shore Bank? Yeah, they brought up a bill that said that they weren't going to do insider trading anymore, and it failed. Why'd you even bring it up?
Yeah, I don't know. Get our hopes up. They're already richer than God. I mean, how much more do you want?
And
when's enough for these people?
And back to what you were saying about Romney, he didn't articulate well, and using that propaganda thing I just read, he did it all wrong. He didn't leave it, like you said, he didn't leave it vague. He tried to go into detail and explain everything. And, you know, after he said 5 or 6 sentences, people glazed over. They were already done listening.
Right.
If he had said, prosperity for all, he would have won. Just prosperity for all, you know,
3
chicken
words.
in every pot.
Right, right. Short and sweet.
Yep. There's a little statement for that. KISS.
But,
Keep it simple, stupid. Yep.
Right. They marketed Obama like a pair of tennis shoes. You know? It was like, what is it, Nike, just do it. 3 words. They marketed him like a pair of tennis shoes, and it went over.
You know, so we have to study how to get our message out. We can't be hitting people with all the facts. We have to do it short bursts. You know, like Scott said, 3 words, 4 words most.
Yeah, I
can't even use words like prosperity because people won't understand it.
I think the 3 words should be keep it local, because unless you can take over your local government, you're never going to be able to, you know, change the federal government. It all starts in your little districts and stuff.
That's true.
Even
That's
the sheriff,
true. You know, we're complaining.
Make sure your sheriff is pro Second Amendment, and if he ain't pro Second Amendment, get rid of him. Because at least those elections are still fair, I believe.
I hope.
You know, I wish we could do a national campaign of going back to handwritten ballots again, because there would be thousands of people that would volunteer their time to count them and to make sure, you know, and have them counted twice. One by somebody that is a registered Democrat, one person that's a registered Republican, and at least it would bring some fairness back to it. But,
I agree with you 100%.
They even have companies from Spain, partially owned by George Soros, counting the votes of national elections. And, you know, who was it? Stalin, that said it really doesn't matter who you vote for, it's who counts the votes.
That's right. And that's
what matters.
Why George Soros brought up his Secretary of State program that he's been running all around the country. As a matter of fact, that guy, Michael Kieschnick, that we outed, he sits on the board of that Secretary of State program. He runs Act Blue, Credo. He has a credit card company. He donates to Sierra. He's on the board of the Tides Foundation. Yeah, he's a shadow radical. He's another one. But, yeah, a Secretary of State program, because that's who counts the votes. If there's a question, It goes to the Secretary of State, and that's who decides. So, of course, Soros wants to run those. And back to what you said about all politics being local, sure, we can be interested in the Louisiana race with this Mary Landrieu and Rob Maness. He's the only one who should be, but they got that other guy there, too, Cassidy. Now, all politics is local. We can say whatever we want. We can say what we want about Pelosi and Feinstein, but it's the people in the district that do the actual voting. Those are the people we have to reach. We can talk on Twitter and Facebook and radio all we want, but we have to get right down door to door into those districts. We got some hard races coming up, and we better be prepared to work. This midterm election is for all the marbles. If you stay home and the Senate doesn't flip and Obama still gets to run roughshod, we don't have 2 more years. We have had the primaries. There's only a caucus or 2 left. But we have had the primaries now. The contenders are in place. That is the party thing. Now it's for the general. If we don't do what we should do, if we don't pull people out of their houses and drag them down to vote, they figure they're going to lose by 7 points, so they're going to adjust the machines to 10 points advantage. So that gives them a 3-point window. We have to beat that. We might have to beat a 15-point window, depending on what their tally is. So we got to get everybody out there to vote. And nobody sits home this time. All those people that sat home because they couldn't bring themselves to vote for Romney, well, we still got Obama because of it. Had you gone out there, we might have had a chance. Not stopping it. I'm not saying Romney was some type of hero, but it would have at least slowed this down.
He wouldn't have been using the race card. He wouldn't have. It's not really the guy at the top. It's the hundreds of other losers they appoint once they get in there.
Right. Romney would have actually been boring.
Yeah, I'd love boring right about now.
I think so.
Can you imagine? Look at people like Michael Moore. Made a movie about how many times Bush played golf. Oh, come on. This guy's a golfer who has a part-time job as president right now.
Yeah. He's been on the golf course more than Tiger Woods this year. No, they got to spot him points. Michael Moore, he's a full-blown anti-capitalist, so he said. Just got in a big beef with his ex-wife, fighting over money. Thought he didn't need money. Why didn't he just hand it over to her?
Well, he's only got 5 mansions.
Yeah.
Those servants
he's another
cost
one
money.
who's a liar. Al Gore, he's another liar.
He doesn't look like he mows his own yard, does he? He might lose a pound.
Yeah, well, like Al Gore, he's telling us we're all going to die and the climate change and all that. And it turns out
that's another thing.
The ice.
That's another thing. Prince Charles, all of them. You know why? It's all for the carbon tax. They all own, the carbon tax banks. And they've all pledged a nice big load of money to the UN. And so they're all pushing it. There hasn't been any climate change in 18 years. The only time the climate changes is in the Midwest, and it usually happens about September, and then it starts warming up at about April.
Yeah. Well, they got this People's Climate March coming up on September 20th. 21st. It's next weekend. And it's supposed to be one of the largest climate marches in history, and they're going to march in England, and they're going to march in New York, and all of that. Well, you know what? Comes to find out that the People's Climate March is tied to international corporations. So here's these people, they're anti-capitalist, and they're using this climate agenda for this global tax. As a matter of fact, they wrote a world with an economy that works for people. So, even at the G20, they were saying that they had to drop the words climate change and just use social justice and that type of stuff. But they're saying that on the 21st, they're going to go out in New York City and they're going to be marching against the climate change. Well, you know what? September 21st is the first day of fall. Of course, the climate's going to change.
Yeah.
It's going to do it again September 21st. And then March 21st, it's going to be spring. Then we move into summer. It's 4 seasons. They call it seasons. The ice shelf is larger than it's ever been in history. We got more Arctic ice than there's ever been. So, as far as that melting and everybody's going to drown, Al Gore knew that. He bought a house right on the ocean. Wasn't he afraid of drowning and the polar caps melting and all of that? Well, I hope these people show up at this march wearing jackets that they sewed out of the cloth that they wove themselves, because, those bad capitalists, you can't go out and buy a jacket. They should be punished. Shoes, too. They know how to make shoes. How about the people at the grocery store? They're capitalists, so if you bring lunch, make it out of your own garden.
Well, you can't even have a lemonade stand anymore, Little kids are getting shut down because they got a 5-cent lemonade stand. Don't want to teach those little kids anything about capitalism. That's a dirty word nowadays.
Yeah, it sure is.
But
I
know what?
We're not going to have capitalism much longer, especially with the tax rate.
Nancy Pelosi's wealth. Can't she redistribute her money to all of us? I could use a Lamborghini. What about you?
Yeah.
They don't know.
I'm real comfortable with Cadillacs.
They want to steal. They're Robin Hoodlums. They steal from the middle class and give them themselves and their crony friends, and whatever's left, they throw the crumbs to the slave class.
They're complaining about our economy. They're complaining about the minimum wage. They want $15 an hour to flip burgers. These companies, like Burger King, have said, forget it, almost a 40% tax rate. And then you're demanding I got to pay the help. Well, why am I in business? I'm not going to make any money. I'm not St. Francis. I didn't start a social service organization. I started a restaurant. So,
well, I think somebody deserves $15 a month or $15 an hour for getting my order wrong and handing out ketchup packets. And I don't mind.
If somebody's worth $15, believe me, the boss is going to pay it. But if you're only worth $9, or if your product is so cheap you can't afford to pay anybody more than $9, why would you take the money, invest it, start a business, get people to go in on it with you to run a social service agency?
You didn't build that. Remember that one?
And then our tax rate. They're complaining about businesses moving out of the country, but they want to charge them 39%.
Highest business taxes in the world.
Our dear friend
and then wonder why
Ulsterman.
Burger King moves to Canada.
Right. Well, they can quit wondering.
Right.
Our boy Ulsterman put out an article today about the numbers and the highest tax rate and how our neighbors are offering a tax rate that's, 10 and better % cheaper, like Mexico and Canada, our neighbors. You can get a 23% corporate tax rate up in Canada. Why would you pay 39% just over the border? You can go from Illinois to Ontario and save yourself millions of dollars a year. Why wouldn't you do it? Our friend Ulsterman put out an article. He says America has the highest corporate tax rate in the entire world, and Dems are pushing to raise it even more. High corporate taxes kill American jobs. That is an undeniable fact that liberal Democrats seem strangely unfamiliar with. Unless, that is, those same Democrats are seeking to weaken the U.S. economy and make America a less powerful nation. Now, Barack Obama and his fellow Democrats are seeking to raise the record-setting corporate tax rate even higher, a move that will eliminate yet more American jobs and decimate the middle class. The numbers don't lie. Democrats have made America a horrible place to do business and create jobs. Of particular note should be the fact that our neighboring border nations have corporate tax rates that are nearly 10% lower. Mexico, or up to 13% lower, Canada, meaning the incentive for American corporations to either move south or north to far more tax-friendly countries is considerable. The current crop of Democrats, both in the White House and Congress, want higher corporate taxes to pay for even bigger government at the expense of the middle-class jobs that are being shipped by the thousands to Mexico, Canada, and other parts of the world. When pushing for higher tax rates for both individuals and corporations, mind you, Barack Obama and his Democrats will cite the Clinton era as lessons that higher taxes create increased prosperity. That depiction of the Clinton years is an all-too-often repeated lie. During Bill Clinton's first term, when he did raise marginal income tax rates to 39.6% at the high end, the economy responded by growing at a rather sluggish pace, and middle-class income stagnated. Sound familiar? What is also left out regarding that time period is that the U.S. corporate tax rate in the 1990s was 35%, not the nearly 40% it is during the Obama era. Regulations and a myriad of other taxes were much lower as well. The Clinton years' economic boom did not take place until his second term was underway and after Republicans had taken control of Congress. Sweeping welfare reform was signed and tax cuts were initiated, namely by slashing the capital gains tax from nearly 30% to 20%, increasing the death tax exemption to $1 million, increasing the limits for deductible IRAs, and then limiting government spending. Those were the moves that initiated the economic boom of the Clinton years, a boom that freed the burgeoning tech market, the tech bubble, created billions in new wealth that were then taxed and thus increasing government revenues, and for the middle class, jobs, jobs, jobs. Even Bill Clinton himself admitted as much in 1995 when he told a group of supporters in 1995, "I raised taxes too much." If you were a new company looking to locate in a country, why would you choose an environment that would take you to a rate of nearly 40% when you could find other countries willing to tax you at rates that are in many cases less than half that? How many American jobs have been lost to the 40% corporate tax rate? How many times do Democrats seem willing to make the cry of companies paying more, when in fact that only makes certain that it will be the American middle class who once again ends up paying the most? Enough is enough. Throw the bums out this November. Ulsterman's absolutely right. And in case our listeners haven't heard who Ulsterman is, he's a blogger, a journalist, author of many books now. And we first met him when he started blogging his White House Insider reports. With this show, all of us have become very good friends since then, and I highly recommend you check out his Irish Cowboy or any and all of his Mac Walker series, as well, of course, as his Tumultus and his first book, Dominatus. Matter of fact, they're eerily prophetic about the times we're living through and are about to embark on, too. So I know that was a shameless plug, but Ulsterman does a good job. And he's absolutely right about this corporate rate. And if you don't believe him, I have another story for you. The United Kingdom is hinting at the next reserve currency. Now, this is our friend and ally, the UK, right? They are helping to get rid of the dollar. Tyler Durden over at Zero Hedge wrote, "Wanification continues around the world as the USA attempts to corral its allies in a broad coalition. An increasing number of people, including domestic economic policy advisors, are shifting away from the U.S. dollar as primary reserve currency. However, the move by British Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, announced Friday, it's likely the most notable yet in the world's de-dollarization. As Inhow reports, the British government intends to be the first nation, ex-China, to issue renminbi-denominated bond and to use the proceeds to finance the government's reserves of foreign currency. Osborne described this dialogue outcome as an historic moment and a statement of British confidence in the potential of the renminbi to become the main global reserves currency." Imagine that.
Yeah, and you know what? Get ready to pay $12 to $17 a gallon when that happens.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Like they do in Scotland, okay? $12 a gallon. What do you think food's going to be like when? What do you think food's going to cost when truckers got to pay $12, $17 a gallon? You know?
Yeah, really. And Scotland's looking to leave from the EU.
Yeah, I have to question if that's even possible. You know, it's like voting. I think if it made a difference, they'd make it illegal. That somehow they're going to steal that away, and they're going to say, well, you had your chance. See that? They voted to keep in the UK. It's hard for me to believe that a yes vote is going to happen because, Scotland would be able to keep 85-90% of their oil profits. You think the Queen's going to give that up? And then it'll start an avalanche of other countries wanting to do it. So they got to nip this in the bud.
Yeah, well, the Queen is really giving them a hard time. She's going to make their lives unbelievable if they do this.
I got two friends from Scotland, and one of them thinks it's total BS, and the other one, she thinks it's possible, but I don't see it happening as much as I'd like to. And you even got Obama weighing in on it now.
Yeah.
It's none of his business. You can't handle it. You can't even golf correctly.
Yeah, he can't even lead a parade. He can't even lead a parade.
Don't you have something about a new DOG nominee or something that he withdrew? Or?
Yeah, actually, he's a former NAACP legal defense guy. He's a radical, like beyond radical. Deb Adjibile, Adjibile. Anyhow, no longer in the running to work under Attorney General Eric Holder. Obama tried to move a controversial Justice Department nominee back in March, but failed, and was forced to withdraw that nominee on Monday. Adjibile used to lead the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and in that position, he did legal work for a man who killed a Philadelphia police officer more than 30 years ago. Adjibile succeeded in overturning the death sentence for the man. His name was Mumai Abdul-Jabbar. Remember him, the cop killer? That background made him a tough pick to move through the Senate. Every Republican opposed him, as did 7 senators. And in March, he failed to win a confirmation in a 47-52 vote. The vote was a significant loss for Democrats that showed the limits that even Obama faces in a Democratic Senate that has confirmed every one of his nominees. I mean, this guy was too radical for the Democrats. That's how bad this guy was. He had a lot of nerve nominating him.
Reverend Wright?
Also, we have mostly radicals in all the courts, by the way.
Oh, they are. They've taken over.
Mhm.
And what is it? Are they nominated, or aren't they? Isn't that a job for life or something?
Yep, jobs for life. And right now, liberal judges throughout the whole country outnumber conservative judges by a huge margin. Not in the Supreme Court yet, but every other court. Want to do a quick lightning round? Because I got a couple of things we got to talk about. Obama postponed amnesty until after the election, but he is saying that it will be done by the end of the year with or without Congress. So we already knew that anyhow. The new Congress begins January 20th. So whatever he's going to do, he's going to do it between now and January 20th. He doesn't care if the Democrats lose or win or anything else. He's going to stick to his plan. And he will do this, but the Democrats, please, please, please don't do this. So they must know it's wrong. If they don't want him to do it until after the election, I mean, don't you feel like you're being stiffed here? You know damn well that the reason that they put it behind the election is because the American people, 72% of us, don't want it. Hey, before I go any further, and we only got a couple of seconds left, somebody has their hand raised, and this is a familiar number. 318, you're live. With your hand raised. Is that you, JoJo? Nope, I guess not. Anyhow, your microphone's open. I guess not. All right, I'm sorry. I was trying to open up a microphone, and they must be on mute.
That's all right.
Ah, well. All right, well, let's see. We got a militia protest. This is such an hysterical article. I don't even really want to read it, but there's supposed to be a protest down at the International Bridge between Texas and Mexico. All the authorities are losing their minds because they said the militia is going to have a protest. Like the militia is dangerous. They got people saying, oh, yeah, well, you know, we got open carry down here, and, you know, we don't usually do that, so we're scared. We don't know their temperament. You know, they're a bunch of liars. They just want something to talk about. If the militias are going to do a protest, all right, know something. The militias are at that border. They've been at that border. They haven't shot anybody. As a matter of fact, one of them got shot at, and he was on private property, on a private rancher's property. But the militia hasn't created any problems. They've been working hand in hand with the National Guard and the Border Patrol, pointing out things that, are going on. Also, the State Department ordered 160,000 hazmat suits. So I'm pretty sure they're planning on Ebola coming this way.
Well, they're bringing in more than just those 4 they told us about. They're bringing them in all over the place.
Yeah, well, they keep bringing them in, and that's a given. And they gave us a checklist, the CDC did. They said plan for regular situation briefs for decision makers, including suspected and confirmed EVD patients who have been identified and reported to public health authorities, isolation, quarantine, and exposure reports, supplies and logistical challenges, personnel status and policy decisions. Tomorrow, Obama's supposed to be coming out and giving us an Ebola speech. Enterovirus has reached the Northeast. Enterovirus is, it's really rampant now. It's in Alabama, in New Jersey, in Connecticut, New York. It says mild symptoms typically look like those of a common cold, a fever, runny nose, coughing, sneezing, body and muscle aches. Many who become severely ill had asthma and experienced difficulty breathing and wheezing. This is affecting children. And the last article, we only got a couple of minutes. The people over at NBC have advice for home invasion defense. Don't use a gun. Use wasp spray. And if that doesn't work, you have to treat the invaders like royalty. Okay?
I thought they were kidding about that.
No, they're dead serious.
You need to invite them in and maybe make them a nice breakfast before they rob and kill you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to send your murderer off on an empty stomach, right?
No. And they say the home invasion is the second intruder defense item the Today Show suggests you keep close to your bed, wasp spray. And it says, should a beeping car alarm or wasp spray fail to prevent a home invasion, the NBC report suggests being polite and directing the bad guys to your cash and valuables. The former detective told Rossa, you want to treat them like royalty, he added. On top of that, you don't want to lie to them. Are you kidding me? They're in your house. They're trying to take your stuff. Your home is your castle. Treat it that way.
And it says right on the can, it says do not use indoors.
Well, that's going to screw the list up.
Maybe they'll step outside long enough for you to spray them in the face. I guess. I don't know.
Yep. All right, guys. We are out of time. But I want to say, Scott, thank you very, very, very much. Your opening day was perfect. You've done a wonderful job. And I want to thank you very much for being second fiddle over here. And I look forward to a whole new season of great shows. So say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right, Scott. All right, and everybody else, that's all the time we have for today. And we hope you enjoyed our show. To everybody who's listening, all you callers, everybody in the chat rooms, thank you so much. Anna, Lynn, AstroTurf, the rest of you crew, thank you so much. Jojo, thank you so much. I know you're out there. I can feel your presence. Thank you, too. And as always, thank you to my great co-host, Scott. Stay tuned to PRN because coming up all week, tomorrow we have Uncommon Knowledge with Janice and Bobby, and then on Wednesday, it's the big boss man around here, Freebird. Thursday is the Old Bulldog Show. That's a memorial show. And as always, good night, America. We love you, and let's play some music here.